I married Trent when I was 22. He was 27, ambitious, confident, and everyone said he had potential. I was still finishing my community college admin courses. I worked nights at a diner and spent mornings filing invoices at a warehouse supply company. Trent used to say, "You're the glue that holds us together." I believed him. I supported every dream he had, every business venture, every failed app, every broken pitch. He told people I was the reason he could chase greatness. But when it was just us, he talked to me like I was in his way. "You're lucky to have me, Ella," he'd say. "Without me, you'd still be answering phones and refilling coffee." At first, I thought he was joking. But over time, it stopped sounding like a joke. And one day, he didn't even bother to laugh. Trent said he was going to change the world. But after 5 years and 4 startups, all we had were debts. While he chased investor meetings, I worked a front desk job at a logistics firm. He hated that job, said it was beneath me. But I didn't mind it. I liked the order. I liked systems that made sense. I saw things there, problems in tracking, confusion between suppliers and shippers, human errors that cost money every day. I quietly started writing them down. I had no plan, just instincts. When I showed Trent my notes once, thinking he'd be proud, he laughed. "You wouldn't know what to do with that if someone paid you." He always knew how to make me feel small. But I kept the notes anyway. I don't know why. Maybe just to prove to myself that I could see what others missed. Things got worse after his 4th business collapsed. He blamed me. Said I didn't support him hard enough. That I brought bad energy into our home. That's why investors walked. Not his numbers. Not his pitch. Me. I wanted to believe it wasn't personal. But the way he looked at me changed. Like I was a burden. "You're lucky I stick around," he said one night. "You'd be nothing without me. You're not built for that world." I remember freezing in place. The words hit hard. He didn't shout. That made it worse. It was cold. Direct. I sat on the bathroom floor for an hour that night, trying not to cry loud enough for him to hear. That was the night I stopped showing him my ideas and started building in silence. I started staying late at work. I told Trent I was swamped, but the truth was, I just didn't want to go home. I stayed in the office and played around with spreadsheets. I looked at patterns in our vendors, inventory delays, customer complaints. Something clicked in my brain. I could see where things broke, where money slipped through cracks. And I started thinking, what if there was one platform that fixed all of this? I didn't know how to code. I didn't have a business plan. But I had a notebook filled with ideas. Charts. Flow diagrams. Workarounds. Simplified systems. I didn't feel smart. I just felt useful. It was the first time I felt that in years. And I wasn't about to let it go. Trent cheated. I found the messages while booking us a hotel for our anniversary. He hadn't closed his browser. Her name was Erica. She worked at a co-working space and sent him selfies with hearts. He sent her memes about dumb wives and said I was just a phase. I didn't confront him. Not right away. I sat with it. Thought about the years I spent covering his rent, his loans, his failures. And suddenly, I wasn't sad. I was done. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just waited until I could afford a studio apartment downtown. And I left. The day I left, he didn't even ask why. He just said, "You'll be back." No apology. No begging. Just a smug smirk like he still owned me. He took the car. Cleared half the savings. Left me the broken coffee table and a pile of credit card bills with both our names on them. It was humiliating. But it was also the first day I could think clearly. I didn't owe anyone anything anymore. I could build without permission. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. The walls were thin, and the heater rattled like an old truck. But it was mine. I bought a secondhand laptop with my last paycheck. I couldn't afford fancy software, so I watched free coding tutorials online and started learning the basics. Every night, after my new job, a temp assistant position, I came home and worked on my idea. I called it FreightFlow. It wasn't pretty, just a basic system for small logistics companies to manage their orders, vendor issues, and stock reports in one place. No more spreadsheets. No more lost inventory. Just clean, smart systems. No one knew I was building it. I was still just an assistant by day. But every night, I was building something real. Something mine. I emailed the early version of FreightFlow to 5 companies I used to deal with in my receptionist job. One wrote back, "Can you do a demo?" My hands were shaking. I practiced for hours, pacing across my tiny kitchen. When the time came, I showed them the basics, how it caught mistakes before they became expensive, how it saved time. They signed on for $79 a month. My first sale. I cried after they sent the payment. Not because of the money. Because for the first time, someone said yes to me. I bought groceries. Paid off a credit card. Then I made the system better. Faster. Cleaner. And emailed 5 more companies. Word got around. Within 6 months, I had 20 paying clients. All small businesses. Family-run shops. Warehouses with 3 employees. They didn't want flashy features. They wanted something that worked. I gave them that. Quietly. And they referred me to others. FreightFlow started spreading like wildfire. And no one knew it was built by a woman in a $38 chair from Craigslist. I was still living small, eating noodles, brewing coffee at home, wearing the same office heels every day. But inside, I felt unstoppable. I hired my first part-time developer, then a second. We met in coffee shops and libraries. I paid them late sometimes, but I always paid them. They believed in the vision. I designed the user interface myself, minimal, clean, and easy enough for anyone to use. Within a year, we were at 200 clients. I called Trent's accountant once, pretending to need advice. He didn't recognize my voice. He told me Trent was unemployed and still looking for his next big win. I didn't feel bad. I felt free. A reporter from a logistics magazine emailed me. They wanted to feature FreightFlow in an article about women in tech. I almost said no. But then I thought of every woman who stayed quiet, who let people like Trent tell them what they weren't. So I said yes. The article came out with the headline, "Built from Scratch, How Ella Monroe Quietly Disrupted Small Business Logistics." The day it dropped, my inbox exploded. One email came from an investor. Then another. And another. The same people who used to ignore me were now asking for meetings. I raised $500,000 in seed funding. Not a lot by Silicon Valley standards. But for me, it felt like I'd won the lottery. I moved FreightFlow into a tiny downtown office. Painted the walls white. Hung a handwritten sign that said, "Built, not bought." I gave Riley, my first employee, health insurance. We cried. And we got back to work. The goal wasn't to get rich. It was to never feel powerless again. Then came the article in Forbes. Meet the woman reinventing the backbone of American logistics. They called me a self-made CEO. Said FreightFlow was one of the most important tools you've never heard of. The story trended. I gained 50,000 users in 3 weeks. That's when I got the email. Trent. Subject, congrats. Can we talk? I didn't reply. Trent kept emailing. Then he texted. Then he called. I let every call go to voicemail. He said things like, "So proud of you." And "I always knew you had it in you." Funny, I remembered the version where he said I'd be nothing without him. He didn't want to reconnect. He wanted access. And now that I was someone, he thought he deserved a piece. The messages got bolder. Would love to get coffee. Maybe we can collaborate on something. I have ideas I think you'd like. I finally replied. One line. I built this without you. I'll grow it without you. That was it. He didn't respond again. And I didn't need him to, because by then, I was already in talks with investors from Silicon Valley. Big ones. And none of them cared that I didn't have a degree. They cared that FreightFlow worked. We passed 10,000 users. Then 50,000. By our third year, we had over 120,000 small businesses using the platform across 5 countries. I was asked to speak at a global tech summit. I walked onto that stage wearing the same black heels I wore the day I left Trent. I told them the truth. That I was just a receptionist who saw things break and decided to fix them. The audience stood up. And I stood taller than I ever had. A month later, I hired a new CTO. His name was Brian, sharp, kind, and honest. He'd worked with Trent years ago and didn't know about our history until I told him. He blinked, then laughed. I actually interviewed Trent recently. He didn't recognize my name. Begged for a connection in logistics. My chest went still. Brian added I passed. Something about him just felt fake. I smiled. You were right, I said. He's not built for this world. We opened a second office in Austin. I moved out of my apartment above the laundromat and bought a 2-story townhouse with a garden. I hosted our company retreat there. Riley brought her son. Brian grilled steaks. Our interns played ping pong in the yard. I looked around and thought, this is the life I used to imagine when I was just surviving. And the best part? I didn't have to share it with anyone who didn't believe in me. Trent tried again. This time, through someone else. A woman named Mallory, someone I barely knew from years ago. Messaged me on LinkedIn. Trent mentioned you might be hiring. He's really turned things around. I laughed. Not out of spite. Out of shock. He still didn't get it. I wrote her back. I don't hire men who once laughed at the woman running the company. Then I blocked them both. And went back to work. An investor called with an offer. They wanted to buy FreightFlow. All of it. I hesitated. This company was my blood, my past, my future. But then I saw the number. 9 figures. Enough to fund every woman-led startup I'd ever believed in. Enough to build schools. Write books. Change lives. I said yes. And the next morning, I saw my name on the Forbes homepage. The headline read, Receptionist turned CEO sells FreightFlow for $420 million. I read it 3 times. My inbox overflowed. Journalists, founders, schools, women from all over the world saying, you gave me hope. I left my toxic marriage today. I'm starting my business tomorrow. That was the best part. Not the money. The proof that someone like me, someone invisible, could build something world-changing. A few weeks later, I spoke at a college business class. A student raised her hand and asked, what happened to your husband? I paused. Then I smiled. He said I'd be nothing without him, I said. So I became everything without him. The class clapped. But I wasn't trying to be clever. I just told the truth. That's what made it sting. I heard Trent filed for bankruptcy. He owed back taxes, loan defaults, missed payments on 2 apartments. He had no job, no team, no Erica, no savings. Someone sent me a photo of him online, selling business coaching for $49 a call. He used to say I'd never make more than minimum wage. Now, one day of my company's revenue could have paid off his debt twice. But I didn't gloat. I just turned the page. I got an award from the National Women's Business Association. I flew my mom in for the event. She cried the whole time. They gave me a glass trophy with my name on it. I gave a short speech. People will try to write your story for you, I said. Especially the ones closest to you. But they can't tell the ending if you don't let them hold the pen. And just like that, The room went quiet, except for the applause. I built a foundation for women-owned startups. I funded 23 companies in the first year. Most of them started in someone's kitchen or spare room, just like me. Sometimes, I sit by the window of my office with a cup of coffee and think about that old apartment above the laundromat. The nights I felt worthless. The mornings I had to fake a smile. And that one voice in my head that said, "You can't." That voice had Trent's face. But now, it's gone. Because I proved him wrong. And I didn't need to scream to do it. This story leaves me with a question for you. And it's not about the past. Right now, as you listen to this, what is the voice of doubt you're carrying with you? Is it a comment from a partner? A parent's expectation? The echo of an old boss? Or is it the most insidious voice of all, the one in your own head, telling you that you're not smart enough, not experienced enough, that you can't achieve what you want to achieve? We all have one. Ella's was Trent. She couldn't make him disappear, not at first. But she did something far more powerful. She started building in the quiet. So here is my small advice for you if that voice is speaking a little too loudly today. You don't need to have a huge, dramatic confrontation. You don't need to scream to prove it wrong. You just need to take one small, tangible step. The smallest brick you can lay for the future you're building for yourself. Write one paragraph of that book. Code one simple function. Sketch one design. Send one email inquiring about that course. Do it quietly. Do it for you. With every small step, that voice gets fainter and your own belief gets louder. So I'll ask you again. What is that voice telling you that you can't do? And what is the one small thing you can do today to start proving it wrong? Let me know in the comments. I read every one.